What's up, everybody? And can you believe it? We are on week 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm about to run out of fingers. We're on week 9 of the 2020 photo challenge. If you're coming across this channel and you're not aware of exactly what's going on, the 2020 photo challenge is a weekly progression where we do a different challenge each week to make us a better photographer in the year 2020. And you can catch up at any time, so feel free to join in. You can find our group on Facebook /groups/2020 photo challenge, and each week we post there. Now for this challenge, of course, we're going to have week 9's pinned to the top of the announcement page for exactly 1 week. And this week's challenge is closed aperture. Now, if you remember back in week 5, we discussed an open aperture. And what an open aperture does, it decreases the depth of field and allows more light in. So a closed aperture is going to do the exact opposite. It's going to let in less light, but it's going to increase that depth of field. So that's what you want to think of when you're using the closed aperture. Now for landscapes, a lot of times you'll see landscape photographers use a very closed aperture. In fact, just a few days ago we had Ansel Adams' birthday, and he's one of the preeminent landscape photographers that really brought the landscapes of the Midwest really into, or not the Midwest, but the West into fruition, and it was a big help in the national park system. And so he used a very large depth of field. In fact, he had a photographers group called F64. Now, very few of our DSLRs will even come close to a F64, and it starts losing sharpness usually around F18 to F22. Now, it works inversely of what you would think. The more closed the aperture is, the larger the F number. For instance, I've got a pinhole camera here, and on this pinhole camera, it is equivalent to about F318. It's a very small hole on there, and when you're shooting a very closed aperture, it means I need more light in order for the sensor, or in something like this, the film, to be able to catch the light. So you'll see your numbers, your shutter time go up immensely. For instance, on this, I mean, broad daylight, it might take several minutes to get the light that you need. Large format photographers go through the same thing. Now, we discussed landscapes, but what else may you want a large aperture for? It could be anything that you want to increase that depth of field. We just discussed portraits a couple of weeks ago, and so if you're doing portraits of a large group, say like at a family reunion, or a sports team, or a class, or something like that, you want to increase that depth of field so you don't just have one person in focus and everybody else is blurry. You want to be able to get it from front to back of those people in focus, so you'll increase that depth of field. Architecture as well as real estate is another example. I shoot a lot of real estate, and typically I'm set around F8 because I want to increase depth of field. Now, a little tip here: the wider the lens, the greater the depth of field for the same F number. So a F8 on, say, a 15 millimeter, I'm pretty much going to have everything in focus just off the lens throughout to infinity. Now, on something like a 70 to 200, especially around 200 millimeters, a F8's not going to give me a whole breadth of depth of field. It's going to still be rather narrow. So that F8 is not equivalent for all lenses and all focal lengths. It is larger the wider the lens. So those are things to keep in mind. So let's go out there and let's get creative. Now, my set here is a little bit of a mess, and I apologize. I've got several projects I'm working on, and for those of you that may be interested, once we finish this video, I'll add a little bit at the end just to kind of give you a behind the scenes. If you're watching the YouTube channel, you're the only ones that's going to see it. I haven't really shared this a whole lot with very many people, but it's a portrait project. And the reason I'm bringing this up is portraits are what I consider one of my weaknesses, and by doing this project, it forces me to go out of my comfort zone and learn what I need to learn. And that's what this whole 2020 photo challenge is about as well. We have a different aspect each week, and hopefully some of this will take you out of the normal type of photography that you do, so that you can become a much broader photographer, and you can learn some things to play with on the aspects you're more familiar with. So I hope you're enjoying this. Now, again, the group is at facebook.com/groups/2020 photo challenge. And if you share this on social media, such as Twitter or Instagram or something like that, or even on Facebook, feel free to use the hashtags 2020 photo challenge and the hashtag ClosedAperture. And until next week, we'll see you then, unless you want to hang around for just a second, and I'm going to display a few of these portraits that I'm doing. So we'll see you then, okay? Have fun shooting, guys.
Yesterday there was sun and there was rain. Beauty in the
So obviously you've hung around, so you want to see what's going on here. So the project I'm doing is called We Are Wilson, and Wilson is the town that I live in. And I want to capture people that embody the spirit of our town and our county. Our county's name is also Wilson. So I've gone out and I started taking pictures of different people in the community to show what this town is all about. And like I said, it forces me to do something out of my comfort zone so that I can become better at it, so that it becomes something in my comfort zone. But here's a few images, and just remember, you're the only one seeing this, so keep it quiet.
Yesterday there was sun and there was rain. Beauty in the mundane. And as the light startled our eyes, we let go of disguise. And now there's something in the air and a sparkly shimmer on our skin, restoring everything within. Dreamy, breezy, we go. Easy, easy on our tiptoes. Undercover agents of the other. Beyond gravel, beyond hand in hand, building castles out of sand, reaching for the grand.